Welcome back to Rapid Report, your go-to source for the latest stories shaping Hollywood, politics, and the world beyond. Today, we're diving into a phenomenon that has quietly, but powerfully, shaped careers, reputations, and even public opinion: guilt by association. From the corridors of Hollywood to the halls of political power, a single connection, real or perceived, can mean the difference between fame and infamy, influence and isolation. We'll look at historic examples, including Donald Trump's entanglements with the Screen Actors Guild and his dismissive "who cares" reaction after the union moved to expel him following January 6th. And then we'll examine a breaking controversy that's sending shockwaves across Tinseltown. Casey Wasserman, head of the Wasserman Talent Agency, whose name now appears in newly released Epstein-Maxwell documents. As artists sever ties and the industry reacts, we ask, what does this say about Hollywood's culture of distancing itself from scandal, and how inescapable is guilt by association today? Stick with us, because we'll break down every angle, explore the implications, and reveal why even indirect connections can carry monumental consequences. And before we jump in, make sure to hit that subscribe button, like this video, and share it with friends, so you never miss a moment of Rapid Report coverage. In Hollywood and politics, reputation is currency. A single connection, real or perceived, to scandal can derail careers, shatter alliances, and trigger a cascade of public judgment. Guilt by association, once a subtle undertone in celebrity culture, has evolved into a defining mechanism of accountability. Fear, and swift action. Recent events, particularly in the aftermath of the Epstein-Maxwell revelations, illustrate how rapidly careers can be affected by proximity to controversy. The phenomenon is not new. Consider Donald Trump, whose relationship with the Screen Actors Guild, SAG, offers an instructive example. Long before he entered the political arena, Trump maintained ties to Hollywood through appearances, cameo roles, and business ventures. After the January 6th Capitol riot, SAG took steps to expel Trump, citing the union's ethical standards. When asked about the move, Trump's response was characteristically dismissive. "Who cares?" This flippant remark, however, did little to diminish the underlying reality. Association, even indirectly, can carry lasting reputational consequences. While Trump's public profile insulated him to some extent, many in Hollywood and politics are far less buffered against the repercussions of perceived complicity. History is replete with examples of careers derailed by mere proximity to scandal. In the entertainment industry, actors have faced backlash simply for attending the wrong event, working with a controversial producer, or maintaining a personal friendship with someone under scrutiny. Political figures are similarly affected, often forced to resign or distance themselves from allies once implicated, no matter how tangentially. The logic is simple but brutal. In an era of heightened media scrutiny and instantaneous social judgment, association itself is a liability. A recent high-profile case illustrates this reality with stark clarity. Casey Wasserman, a major Hollywood agent and the head of the Wasserman Talent Agency, has become the center of a growing storm. Newly released documents from the Epstein-Maxwell investigations revealed emails exchanged between Wasserman and Ghislaine Maxwell, the infamous associate of Jeffrey Epstein. The emails, though not necessarily indicative of wrongdoing, were enough to spark a wave of concern and action across Hollywood. Multiple artists and executives publicly severed ties with Wasserman's agency, signaling an immediate reputational fallout. In response, Wasserman announced he was selling his company, acknowledging that he had become a distraction. This episode underscores a key aspect of modern public life. In Hollywood, distance is often the first form of defense. The industry moves swiftly to protect itself from any hint of scandal, particularly when the subject involves figures like Epstein, whose crimes carried global notoriety and intense moral condemnation. Wasserman's predicament demonstrates how proximity alone can jeopardize decades of professional work and carefully cultivated relationships. In a culture where perception is often as powerful as reality, the cost of association can outweigh the cost of scrutiny. Guilt by association intersects closely with what is popularly termed cancel culture. While debates rage over whether cancel culture represents accountability or overreach, its operational mechanics are clear. When someone connected, even peripherally, to a scandal emerges in public consciousness, individuals and institutions must decide whether continued association is worth the risk. The consequence is often immediate. Contracts are terminated, social media condemnation erupts, and reputations painstakingly built over years can unravel in weeks. The Wasserman case is not just a story about emails. It is a mirror reflecting the unforgiving logic of a culture that equates association with endorsement. Yet there's a broader lesson here. Hollywood's instinct to distance itself from scandal and politics' similar impulse to disown compromised allies reflects deeper societal anxieties about moral responsibility. In a world where media is omnipresent and digital footprints are permanent, the boundaries between direct involvement and mere association blur. Celebrities and politicians alike navigate this landscape carefully, aware that reputational damage is not always proportional to culpability. Guilt by association has become a structural feature of the industry, shaping decisions from casting to corporate governance. Even as some argue that the mechanism is harsh or unjust, the underlying reality is unlikely to change. Reputation has become a strategic asset. An association with scandal, however indirect, poses a tangible threat to professional survival. From Donald Trump's dismissive brush-off with SAG to Casey Wasserman's abrupt decision to sell his agency, the lesson is consistent. Proximity to controversy, especially when it touches sensitive moral or legal issues, is rarely overlooked. In Hollywood and politics, guilt by association is not merely a perception. It is an operative force that can dictate the trajectory of careers, companies, and public trust. In the final analysis, Wasserman's case serves as a stark reminder. In an era of instantaneous communication and relentless scrutiny, no one is immune. Scandal need not be personal to have personal consequences. Guilt by association, intertwined with cancel culture and reputational vigilance, will continue to shape the dynamics of Hollywood and politics alike. For those navigating these worlds, awareness, caution, and the strategic management of relationships are no longer optional. They are essential for survival. The power of guilt by association, a double-edged sword. The Casey Wasserman case perfectly illustrates the mechanics of guilt by association. The recently revealed emails with Ghislaine Maxwell, even if they show no direct involvement in Jeffrey Epstein's crimes, are enough to create a seismic shock in Hollywood. This underscores a harsh reality. Hollywood often makes little distinction between proximity and complicity. In an industry where public image is everything and scandals travel at the speed of digital media, it is often safer to sever ties immediately than risk reputational fallout. The speed of public judgment and fear of contamination. The rapidity with which artists and companies distance themselves from anyone touched by scandal reflects a logic of professional self-preservation. The industry frequently chooses to cut ties rather than expose itself to moral association with condemnable behavior, whether real or perceived. This fear of symbolic contamination explains why careers can be derailed by association, not by personal actions. The shadow of the Epstein-Maxwell effect. The Epstein case created an extreme sensitivity to indirect ties to sexual abuse and trafficking. Any actor, agent, or executive even slightly connected to the Epstein-Maxwell network is immediately scrutinized by the media and social platforms, often intensely. In this context, even a few emails or attendance at a shared event can trigger a media firestorm. This demonstrates an accelerated stigmatization effect, where public perception often outweighs the presumption of innocence. Cancel culture and social justice, between vigilance and excess. This dynamic is closely linked to what is commonly called cancel culture, frequently portrayed as a modern extension of social justice. While it serves to hold powerful or privileged individuals accountable, it also has potential excesses. Collective judgment can strike individuals or companies simply for their proximity to controversy. Cancel culture thus operates as a mechanism of social and professional pressure, where fear of public condemnation encourages self-censorship and the immediate severing of risky relationships. Politics and Hollywood. Similar mechanisms, same vigilance. The same principle operates in politics. Donald Trump, for example, faced the risk of moral condemnation for his ties to controversial figures in Hollywood and finance. While his notoriety and political base provided relative immunity, the underlying rule persists. Association alone is enough to provoke suspicion and distancing. Hollywood and politics share a similar terrain. Public image dictates alliances and exclusions alike. A strategic lesson for industry professionals. For actors, agents, and executives, the Wasserman episode highlights the urgent need to manage every relationship with extreme caution. Even purely professional or circumstantial ties can have a lasting impact on reputation. The market, the media, and the public rarely differentiate between complicity and association, making risk anticipation a crucial strategic skill for career preservation. Ultimately, guilt by association remains a formidable tool of social and professional regulation. It functions almost automatically in the public sphere. Once an individual is perceived to be linked to a scandal, they become a potential target for scrutiny and corporate distancing. Whether in Hollywood, politics, or media, proximity to scandal, voluntary or not, has become an unavoidable vulnerability. As we've seen today, in Hollywood and politics alike, the stakes of association are higher than ever. Casey Wasserman's situation is a stark reminder that even perceived proximity to scandal can end careers, sever relationships, and force monumental decisions, all in the blink of an eye. Guilt by association, cancel culture, and reputational fallout are no longer abstract concepts. They are real, tangible forces that shape the lives of public figures and the industries they inhabit. Whether you are in entertainment, politics, or just watching from the sidelines, these stories offer crucial insight into the power of perception in today's world. If you found this breakdown insightful, make sure to subscribe to Rapid Report, smash that like button to support the channel, and share this video with anyone who wants to understand the hidden dynamics behind today's headlines. And don't forget to turn on notifications. You won't want to miss our next deep dive into the stories that matter most.